You're listening to the Business Spotlight podcast presented by the Lancaster-Fairfield County Chamber of Commerce. I'm Logan Weaver, the marketing coordinator at the Chamber. Thanks for tuning in. Today, we've got the Buckeye Automotive Family of dealerships, and our guest today is Sean Kenney, the Vice President and Director of Operations at Buckeye Auto. How's it going, Sean?
It's going great, Logan. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming in. So Buckeye Automotive, a very familiar name, not just here in Lancaster, Fairfield County, but Central Ohio as a whole. 45 years in business.
Yes, my father-in-law started in 1978 up just off of Ohio State's campus, hence the name Buckeye. So.
Oh, very fitting.
Yeah.
So you guys have 4 dealerships, 3 brands. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, when my father-in-law got started, it was, like I said, 1978. It was actually Datsun at the time, Buckeye Datsun. And shortly thereafter, in 1984, he got the opportunity to open up a Honda store down here in Lancaster. And that was originally named Spires Honda. There's still a lot of people in the area, and we still see an occasional license plate frame that says Spires Honda.
Oh, really?
Mainly, my father-in-law named it Spires because his grandfather, our Honda store is right on the corner of Edie and Memorial Drive. And my father-in-law's grandfather, so my wife's great-grandfather, was born in a farmhouse right across the field, technically is off of Fair Ave. So there's a lot of, as we know, a lot of Spires down this way, interconnected and disconnected in many, many different ways. But yeah, so it was opened at 1984. The Honda store is just getting ready to celebrate 40 years.
Oh, wow.
As Spires Honda. And then in the mid-90s, they switched it to Buckeye, mainly, as you can probably understand, for marketing purposes. Mm-hmm. Something about the name Buckeye in Central Ohio, I don't know. I'm a Notre Dame grad, so
it just clicks.
But
I don't think Irish would have fit in.
No, not quite. So... and then we were fortunate to acquire the Toyota store in 2012. And shortly thereafter, about 5 years later, we opened another Nissan point because, of course, Datsun became Nissan. And we opened another Nissan store at the Georgesville Auto Mall. So we have 2 Nissans, one in Hilliard and one in Georgesville. And then we have the Honda store and the Toyota store down here in the Lancaster community.
So a very sizable footprint for not just Lancaster, Fairfield County, but all of the Columbus market, really.
Correct. It's nice. We really do cover Central Ohio. We flank it on all sides, so to speak. So, we try to reach out and help the broader area that we work in, but we also really focus on the community that our stores reside in so that we can be that steward that the community requires and looks for.
And we'll touch on that here in just a moment. There's been a lot of ups and downs with the car market here, especially since COVID. We've heard dealerships have issues, especially during COVID when things shut down, manufacturing shut down at parts. So what has been the experience like for, at least from Buckeye's perspective, coming out of that?
Well, it has definitely been an adventure. I think one of the things, and Buckeye has been really fortunate, we came out of it or went through it because of our loyal customer base. The backbone to any strong automotive dealership, everyone always thinks dealership, they're selling cars, but really the strength is in the service department. And throughout that time, whether, people couldn't get new cars or didn't have the financial means to get the new cars, you always need to rely on service. And there's nothing better than having your vehicle serviced by technicians that are trained by the manufacturers that built your cars.
Right. Makes sense.
So, for us, it's been, from that perspective, it's actually flowed rather smooth. And we joke, service is called fixed ops, and it's stayed relatively fixed. Now, yes, the big variable and the big roller coaster ride has been in the sales side. And we are now returning to what we call pre-COVID, but really back to 2018, 2019. We're getting back into the car business. And that's a good and a bad. It's tough because then people are going to have the stereotype of, the negotiation and the this and the that. But the good is we're going to have inventory again. We're going to have programs that will benefit consumers so that they can get great interest rates, they can get good leases. All of that stuff, especially in 2024, is really going to start to roll out and become more and more. And you're going to see 2024 resorting back to kind of what 2018 and 2019 was like in the automotive world. But it has definitely been a challenge throughout, and it's still one we're going to have to work with for a while. I think every industry, and I know I've heard Travis even talk about it, the new reality. Mm-hmm. What's really,
what is normal anymore? Yeah.
Correct. The new normal. Thanks. That's what I was trying to think of. What is normal? And we're going to figure it all out together. That's for sure.
Yeah. And I think you guys have adapted pretty well with all the changes and everything. I mean, one thing that you touched on, especially with the service department, local, having someone that you know and trust. And I've had friends and others in the industry and here in the community continuously go back to Buckeye because they've had good experiences with buying cars or trade-ins or the like. So I think having that, as a constant, especially in an ever-changing market, ever-changing world, really, having that one constant, especially here on the local level, is very important.
And that's what it's been a blessing to be a part of the Lancaster community and the Lancaster market, because as Lancaster's grown, we've grown. When Lancaster struggles, we do struggle, but we also we're here as a resource to try to provide out of that. Our mission is to develop a genuine family relationship with every customer and associate. And we take that to heart. I mean, I'm part of the family that owns the store. We have multiple family members involved in the day-to-day because we want to continue to push. Each one of our associates are part of our family, and their families are connected. So it's the community as a whole. We all went through COVID, and we were actually really happy to go through it here, if that makes sense, because, there was many dealerships across the country that just, the small mom and pop places, unfortunately, in other communities are getting swallowed up. They're not able to survive and compete because of the expense turmoil that COVID caused. And, we were able to shrug all of that away, and we relied on the community that supported us to help. We supported them and get them to support us, and it's been a true blessing to be here in the Lancaster market, especially with our Toyota and our Honda store.
And speaking of Toyota and Honda, I want to touch on that real quick, because whenever you hear about reliability in the automotive market, those two are typically the ones that pop up the most, especially with Honda being built here in Ohio too. So kind of tell us a little bit about what Honda and Toyota are doing here lately and some of the things that you guys have to offer.
Yeah, Honda and Toyota are I always say they're the most domesticated imports you can get. Obviously, everybody, Honda, there's over 220 suppliers in Central Ohio to the Honda product. The Toyota product, the number one Toyota, the Camry, is built in Georgetown, Kentucky, about 4 hours from here. So when you look at the Midwest, those vehicles are being built, and they're being built 75, 80, 85% with American-made parts. So both manufacturers have always really prided themselves on the quality of the vehicle. It's not uncommon to see these cars go hundreds and hundreds of thousands of miles. If there is something wrong with the car, both manufacturers have always been very in tune to taking care of the customer. It makes it easier for us to be one of their dealers, because we know that as much as we want to take care of our customers, they want to make sure that we take care of our customers too. And that is a great partnership, to know that the quality is there, but, these are still technically made by humans. Mm-hmm. Probably more robotic than anything else nowadays. But
you still got people controlling the robots.
You still got people controlling them, people designing them. And so there's going to be problems with the vehicles. But it's really great to have a manufacturer that stands behind and says, something, we'll fix that. Toyota recently went through, last couple, probably 5-6 years, we were going through recalls where we were rebuilding trucks because Toyota was standing behind the frame. I mean, these trucks had 180,000 miles on them, and Toyota was still paying the bill to put a whole new frame underneath this truck.
Wow.
Because something that they felt wasn't good 20 years ago.
Yeah, I think that really speaks to the reliability of both manufacturers, as you mentioned. Toyota, Honda consistently 1, 2, or at least top 5 as far as reliability and dependability. And as you said, you'll see someone that use lot where they've got 100,000+ miles, but they can easily go for another 200,000. So talking a little bit about local involvement, community involvement, you guys are very much heavily involved with giving back to the community, especially as you mentioned how the community supported you during the difficult times of the pandemic. Being able to give back, especially here in the last 5 years with your Buckeye Cares program, really shows how dedicated you guys are to the community.
Thank you. I'm very proud when I came up with the Buckeye Cares program, and this isn't a pat on my back. This was our organization, but we were fresh into COVID, or I guess trying to get out of COVID. And a couple friends that I know that have nonprofit organizations were all commenting about how difficult it was for them to get the support they needed, because our community, it wasn't people didn't want to give, but people were struggling to give. Everybody was having to cut back in their personal lives. And, when I realized it, I was like, that's where we can probably help the most, is allowing these organizations, a little bit of funding. It's nothing huge, it's nothing big, but allowing them a little bit of funding. And that's kind of what started the whole Buckeye Cares program, is that we do care, and so we want to give some money back into the community. Now, the funny and the most exciting part of it is the exposure that some of these organizations are getting. They don't typically do TV commercials, and now they're getting to do a TV commercial. So it's really been even bigger program than I ever anticipated. The money to me is a small side of it, and the exposure that we're able to help provide has been priceless.
Yeah, I know from personal experience sitting there watching TV, especially the local channels, and every now and then you get the local ads pop up for the Lancaster market. I've seen Buckeye Cares and your guys' program pop up, and then I see familiar faces like Stephanie at Habitat for Humanity. I see United Way, Lancaster Festival, all of these local organizations where, as you said, the donation may not be a lot, but in those types of situations, for some of these places, they can use that money and run with it. Like it's huge contribution.
Well, Anatoba and I were talking a year and a half ago, when the first time Notre Dame, Ohio State played each other. That weekend, we happened to feature Meals on Wheels, and we were able to get a couple extra spots in the big game. And Anna told me that their phone was ringing off the hook on Monday.
Really?
Just with people being, they picked up a couple drivers, they picked up just some more awareness that it even existed, in our community. So again, that was, I think, an extreme of the effects, but you're right. I think just giving these folks another voice and another opportunity to get their organizations out was a side effect that I never would have expected. But to me, it's really the purpose of the whole program now is to help market them.
Yeah, because obviously the donation's a pretty decent size of that, contribution. But having that additional exposure, especially when for a nonprofit, sometimes they can be limited depending on the size of the nonprofit. So I think being able to not just give a donation, but give them that exposure is really cool. And not just with the local nonprofits, but you guys are also big contributors to local schools, both here in Lancaster and the rest of Fairfield County.
Yeah, we try to support education across the board. We've always joked a little bit. Multiple people have asked, hey, you're going to get involved in any of that NIL stuff or anything? And my response is always, I give my money to the high schools.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we've got great high schools around. We got great programs. We've got great school systems. So, yes, Lancaster gets, well supported, but we want to make sure we support Bloom Carroll and Amanda, Fairfield Union, Liberty Union, all the areas that we touch, as well as the Catholic system that's very near and dear to our family's heart. So it's a blessing to be able to put money into the school systems, because it doesn't matter if you're private, public, they need funds. And if we don't take some of our investment and educate the youth of today, then it will hurt all of us in our community in the future.
And I know folks who've been to like a Lancaster football game or Fisher Catholic basketball game, you'll see the Buckeye Automotive logo either at the stadium or outside the gymnasium. And that's just a way for you guys to show your support, not just for the schools and stuff, but these kids who are, going through the athletic programs, or even just the kids, who aren't in athletics. They see that these local organizations are supporting them.
And that's our goal. Our goal is, not just to support athletics. Our goal is to really support the schools and what they're trying to accomplish. I know, Bob Kenney and I have a great partnership that I send him around to as many of the school musicals and stuff like that and get him to record it just for the families to have a copy of what their kids did on stage. But it's just an added gift, I guess, that we can give back for the kids of today, tomorrow, and the future. I mean, that's the neat thing about education is you're just constantly touching a new group of people as opposed to always focusing on just one set of continued people. So education support is very high on our pillar of focus when we look to, I guess, give back and be a part of the community.
That's Sean Kenney, Vice President and Director of Operations at the Buckeye Automotive Family of dealerships. That's Honda, Toyota, and Nissan. Sean, thanks for coming in.
Logan, thank you very much for having me.
You've been listening to the Business Spotlight podcast presented by the Lancaster-Fairfield County Chamber of Commerce.